All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And hello all. I'm so excited. It's the first show of the new week, and we've got quite the week ahead, as a matter of fact. A lot of guests planned for this week, some who I am super excited about, some who I'm incredibly, insanely excited about. It runs the entire gamut. Kim is here. You can see her there at her post.
Kim, how are you?
And Tony is at his post.
Thanks, Tony.
He's popping in and out with any number of technical things, warning me that there are all kinds of ways that I can be demonetized and struck today, so I am going to try to be careful about it. It's not easy doing this.
Oh, girl, baby girl.
Don't even play, baby. Don't even play. So,
Oh, look at this.
hey guys, it's our Walter Fristo's birthday. Walter, who is the keeper of birthdays. It's something that actually happens off the air. If you're listening, you're probably not aware of this, but if you're watching, you may be aware of it, because in the chat, to begin every day before we even go on the air, Walter lays out all of the high-profile birthdays for the day. So, and now it is his birthday. So, it is with the greatest excitement, then, that I wish you, Walter, a very happy birthday. Very, very cool.
Yeah, happy birthday. Yay, another June baby.
Yeah. June, kids, it's a great month to have a birthday. I have a Christmas birthday, and it's awful. Absolutely awful.
Yep.
It's the day after. Is that yours too?
Nah,
Tony?
it's January, but it's the same thing of like, this goes with your Christmas gift, or,
Yeah, right.
you know, it's...
Mine's the day after Christmas.
Oh,
it's,
no.
It's brutal. It's not about the gift. When you get older, it's not about the gift. It's like, can you get people together for a dinner or something? No, we're out of town. Sorry, we're traveling the holidays. Yeah.
I hate the kids that have the summer birthdays.
We'd love to celebrate with you, in a couple of weeks when we get home. And then you said people, but by then the birthday feeling is gone. You know, you don't want to, you get it. So, look, congratulations. Well, you got a great, June is maybe the best month to have a birthday. Not too hot yet, and you don't get obscured by the 4th of July and some of this other stuff. So Kim has given you the birthday background that you so desperately...
I tried to do balloons, but it doesn't look like balloons very much. Anyway, that's for you, Walter.
There you go, Walter. Bravo, Walter. Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Also, I want to give a big shout out to Kelly Malloy, first into the super sticker with a $5 super sticker. We're a crowdfunded show. Actually, the very first in, there was David Akers this morning before we even went on the air.
Oh, David.
He hit us with a super sticker for $5.
Shout
David Akers, thank you.
That's cool.
We make a big deal out of the part of the crowd that funds because we are crowd-funded. So thank you, David Akers. Thank you to Kelly and anybody else who jumps in today. It's really cool to see so many people in our community of viewers and listeners jump in here. What is it, Tony?
Kim, do you have a fan on? Your air conditioning on?
Yeah.
Okay, because it's picking it up.
Fan on.
It's picking it up. Turn it down the fan because it's making a hum on the air. It's making a hum. So just turn it down to a slower speed.
Tony, did you see the note that I sent you? Just sent it to you. Someone said, Mark, I really like how you're self-deprecating, but I really don't like when you, what is it, something about Kim, right?
Yeah, when you're so hard and negative on Kim.
But can you put it up there? Or can you, or
yeah,
you're not?
Yeah.
That's great. I'm not asking you to read it. Jesus, man. You kidding? Really?
Put that coffee down.
Yeah, come on. Mark, I love your self-deprecating humor. However, I don't like it when you're so hard and negative on Kim.
What?
Oh, my God. Really?
Thank you for the support, friend. Thank you for the support.
Oh, Kim, don't give me that crap. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the support, friend.
I'm not gonna cry. I really appreciate it.
Oh my God, it's so hard here.
Big shout out.
Oh my God, it's 2 hours. I've got to work 2 hours. Sometimes I have to work a little bit more than that.
I know.
How dare you?
Trust me, I thought, not driving into the city every day was going to be a cakewalk. And then this guy comes along.
I am telling you. Unbelievable.
Girl, baby girl. That's what I'm telling you.
Unbelievable. Well,
Girl, baby girl. Don't even play.
Maybe you should go KCBS like everybody else and go deal with that management for a day or two.
Maybe I should just tromp my way back into San Francisco.
Let me do an impression of the KCBS management to you. Kim, we really like what you're doing. You're not following the format the way we discussed. I don't think it's your fault, but if you could just be better about hitting your brakes on time, that's the stuff that you got to deal with in commercial radio.
It's true.
Tony, you don't need to leave that up there like it's some billboard that,
Oh, I think we should leave it up for a while, actually.
My God.
That sounds good to me. No. Thank you for the support. You should know that when Mark gives me a hard time, he is kidding.
I adore Kim.
Aren't you? Are you not kidding?
I adore you.
Yeah.
I
thought you were kidding.
Can you let him finish,
let me know if you're not kidding.
I adore you. Let me finish.
Can you let him finish, sir?
Which is why it's going to be so difficult to fire you. It's a joke. Please, come on, people. We came over here together. We're going to go down with the ship together. So we love Kim. It's a thing. Let me tell you the other thing. And then it hurts me to have to pull back the curtain, but clearly it needs to be said. This is what I did with Brett. The news person, this is the relationship that makes it more interesting. So that's why, stop picking on Brett.
He didn't fight back as much, though.
Well, he was...
Stop picking on Brett.
Yeah.
Well,
he's nicer than me.
Well, that's certainly true. Yes, I agree with that. All right. Look, no, I love Kim.
Stop picking on Brett.
Yeah, and Kim is the best, So,
Can you let him finish, sir?
Oh, yeah. But let me finish. I mean, given the fact that Brett's not available.
You know what? That is just a low blow. I mean, if you were just looking for a way to zero in on the weak spot,
let me tell you, I
hit
want
it.
That one person who wrote that note, like, I don't like it when you, that, as Albert will tell you, that guarantees that I will then start picking on Kim. The minute they say, we really like your show, but we don't like it when you do this, that means we'll be doing this for whatever the balance of the show is. We've got a lot to do today. I saw a movie last night, and
The Mark Thompson Show.
I really recommend it. It's something of a phenomenon. It's called The Hitman, and it's funny-ish, rom-com-ish, and also kind of dramedy, maybe it would be the category as well. It's doing really well. It's on Netflix. So it's based on a true story about a fake hitman. And this fake hitman actually was involved in busting people who were plotting to off their spouses or off any number of people, their business partners, etc. And this fake hitman worked for the cops. But this fake hitman was not like this tough hitman. He was like a guy who worked with numbers, and he was kind of a techie. He was like Tony. Imagine Tony pretending to be a hitman. I mean, Tony's a sweet guy, like a earnest guy.
Thanks, Tony.
But he had to put on essentially a character to sell the fact that he was a hitman, to get the person he was dealing with to say, I want you to kill this person, because in so saying that, in so doing, that person, of course, incriminates themselves, and they are arrested. So this fake hitman is a real guy. It's based on a real guy. Today, at the bottom of the hour, Courtney will profile the real guy, the story behind Hitman, which is the hit movie that is on Netflix. That's at the bottom of this hour in True Crime Corner. Otherwise, I have so much news. not the least of which is related to Donald Trump and Joe Biden and Trump's latest swing. His latest swing post-conviction is through the San Francisco Bay Area, which is not where you'd think that he would necessarily come to feel good about life, because there are, a lot of Democrats. It's a bastion of Democratic support, of even progressive support. And Trump is sort of anti-Democrat, very grievance-oriented, but he's found some new friends in San Francisco. And
The Mark Thompson Show.
Trump's new friends are in San Francisco, and they voted for Biden the last time out. I'm talking about the high-profile tech bros and venture capitalists who have all the money and power, you'd think, but they want more money and power. And the way you get more money and power is you see to it that Donald Trump is elected. First of all, he's transactional. He'll take care of you for your support. And secondly, he'll deliver more in the way of tax cuts. He'll make those tax cuts that he launched during his administration, he'll make them more permanent. Some of them, there has been a sunset clause on them, and he's likely to see to it that they get burnished into the tax code permanently. And secondly, and I think underreported on this, and then I'll get to the specifics on Trump's visit and we'll share a little video with you. Underreported is that when you are, these guys are billionaires. I mean, I think, right? Sachs, David Sachs, who started PayPal, was in on the PayPal, and Yammer, he's a high-profile venture capitalist. Chamath as well, who's the Facebook bro. He was one of the first people at Facebook. These guys gain more power when you get a guy like Trump in. So they have both mostly the tax thing. It lets them hang on to all that money. But also, when you have that, I'm going to call it oligarchical power, meaning, you have the money and power to influence policy. And policy in this case would be deregulation, right? You don't want the watchers watching you anymore. You want fewer financial regulations or protections, and you want fewer business regulations and protections. So these, again, you can call them oligarchs, billionaires, tech bros, whatever. They have an interest in that which Donald Trump has promised. So they've gone from the Biden column to the Trump column. Now, they may tell you, oh, but Biden has checked out. He doesn't know where he is. He's, look at the way he walks, look at the way he talks. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show because I want to share with you a couple of, I thought, piercing comments from an opinion writer who I respect a lot, and I wanted to share them with you. But more to the point, that's just an excuse. That's a smokescreen. The real truth behind why they support Trump has to do with money and power. Anyway, that is the huge reason that Donald Trump came to San Francisco. There was going to be this giant party and fundraiser for him. But it was preceded by a big rally on the Marina Green. And Kim was telling me they had trouble getting people to show up to that, right, Kim?
Yeah, there were only a couple people that came. They had to, I guess, cart them in from elsewhere, is what I understood, according to SF Gate.
Take a look at a couple of moments from Trump's weekend on Marina Green.
Engines. We saw the former president's Trump plane touching down at SFO this evening, and he headed straight for San Francisco to raise millions of dollars for his re-election campaign. The Trump chicken balloon also made an appearance in the Bay to greet him. Now, this time it was wearing a black and white striped jumpsuit on the back of a boat. But the people who put it up ran into some trouble. The winds were so strong that they had issues inflating it and keeping the prisoner upright.
That may be the biggest, you can stop it for a second, Tony. That, to me, may be the biggest disappointment of the weekend. I mean, that was something, Kim had it in her news. We were talking about the fact that the Trump chicken in prison garb, they actually updated prison garb. Sadly, it never then really got cleanly inflated because of the winds on the bay. No. Okay, Tony, go ahead.
Prisoner upright. Trump's supporters started gathering hours ahead of his arrival, joining caravans in Redwood City and Oakland, some rallying at San Francisco's Marina Green, where some supporters told us they get a lot of pushback living here in the Bay Area.
There's a surprise.
I've had people try and rip my hat off. They've taken my flag. They've spat at me. Woo! Blue collar, man, blue collar.
Some supporters opted to play dress up to show their support. This one wearing a Trump Halloween mask and
the
his
thing about
trademark
the
red
Trump
tie.
rallies, and this is something that Michael Shore has commented on here because, you know, he's been, I'll get to this comment in a second. I'm just seeing some comments I'll respond to. Michael Shore's been at multiple rallies. I mean, I think tons of Trump rallies, as you know. A lot of those conversations that he has with Trump supporters have gone viral. But it's a show. You don't see, this is a very different kind of political support than we've seen in the past. This is the cult of personality. But as you see this, it's a party. It's a show. And Michael has commented on the fact that people want that. He says their participation is not really informed by policy. They want to be part of the fun of it, playing the hits, the call and response, the lock her up, all that stuff. I saw a post online that had a copy of a Craigslist ad to pay people $75 to come to the Vegas rally. Extra if they dressed up and extra if they got filmed. Wow, thank you, Vicky and Tiburon. That's wild. All right, go ahead, Tony.
To show their support, this one wearing a Trump Halloween mask and his trademark red tie, while this guy chose to dress like Uncle Sam.
And I think it's encouraging that he's here. I mean, let's face it, very few people could could withstand what he's going through.
The Marina Green rally was met with some boos or thumbs down from drivers, and we met one lone counter demonstrator who says she expected some company.
One of my goals is trying to listen to somebody and try to listen to what they have to say and have a dialogue. They don't. So far, the people I have talked to don't want to have a dialogue. I'm not saying everybody over here feels that way.
At least you know in the Bay Area that you're probably not going to get mauled by those who disagree with you. I mean, probably. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, there was a fundraiser in the evening in Pacific Heights, I believe, at the home of David Sachs. To get in, it was $50,000 for a single ticket. Couples were $500,000. And there was a VIP level as well. They raised a boatload of money. Go ahead, Tony. Let's play a little bit.
Fundraiser was at the home of venture capitalist David Sachs, where some couples paid $500,000 to get in the door. It was out here, though, where some of the liveliest confrontations happened tonight.
That's not a lie. 7 times on this flight line. That's a lie. That is a lie. Who's it from?
Just an hour before Mr. Trump's arrival, the verbal fireworks began. Some Trump supporters and opponents got into heated clashes as they debated issues such as abortion.
He steals women's reproductive rights.
For supporters, this was a chance
Boy,
to see
David
their
Sachs's
candidate
neighbors have to be really glad that he's decided to take on this kind of...
Thanks for bringing the circus to town, pal.
We just liked it when you were filthy rich and you shut the F up. Why do you need to bring us protests like this? Go ahead, Tony.
Rare visit to San Francisco. Max Bonilla wanted to be part of this moment.
We don't see this in California. I know people kind of try to stereotype California and make it like it's all blue. I don't believe that necessarily. Like, I think that there are definitely rural, conservative, red parts where people are coming from, maybe even suburban mom and dads, to come to a city like San Francisco when a guy that they love hardly comes by to even visit.
Well, stop right there. I mean, dude, no offense, Mark Bonilla in this case. Is that his name?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I would say, Mark, it is clear to everybody who looks at the state of California at all, California is not a blue state that way. It's the cities, perhaps, you're talking about. Clearly, you're right about San Francisco and the Bay Area. That's a blue area. But just drive 50 miles and you've got yourself red country. And the state is solidly red in much of the Central Valley, in much northern parts of the state, and south around Fresno. I mean, there's no shortage of red, and Republican leadership and Republican support elsewhere in California. It's just that the population centers are dominated by blue. Go ahead, Tony.
Heights like Armand Domaluski, they felt the need to take a stand that Mr. Trump wasn't welcome in their neighborhood.
I live 5 minutes from here, and when I heard that Trump, who hates reproductive rights, hates freedom, and hates America, was going to be in my neighborhood, I have to show up and show that he doesn't represent our values.
There was a police presence in the area of Pacific Heights known as Billionaires Row. Only residents and attendees were allowed inside the barricades. One attendee who didn't want to be identified says she was impressed with the former president.
I think he is incredibly witty and quick and warm and personal and authentic.
For
There
her,
you go.
it was worth it to hear him speak
Well,
about
There's never
the
been anything
issues
like this.
and decide who she will vote for in November.
I wanted to have a first-hand experience to make my mind up, to have a better understanding.
Yeah. This is the problem. The people are so concerned with the firsthand experience or the, I don't know, he just seems like the kind of guy I could sit down and have a beer with or whatever. People vote emotionally. And so the idea that, that becomes the thing that informs your vote, it's crazy. Meantime, the guy's, appointing people to the Supreme Court that are taking your rights away or taking your child's rights away or however you want to think of it. I mean, this is crazy. So what? So he's charming and witty. Charming and witty is something you want, for a party host or a game show host, which is what he was. It's not necessarily what you want as a presidential nominee or as a president. But San Francisco came through for Donald Trump. At least those tech bros did. They're venture capitalists and tech bros who attended that party. And that Pacific Heights neighborhood was just filled with people who either lived on Billionaires Row or were comfortable there. Again, a $300,000 tier offering perks like a photo with Trump. And $500,000, as I mentioned, per couple. Those were the price tags. They say they raised north of $12 million in one night for Donald Trump. So it's remarkable. It's remarkable. And I think the other remarkable thing, when I say it's remarkable the pivot these guys have done. They've gone from being Biden people to being Trump people this time round. So let me say this about that. I think living in San Francisco and the Bay Area and a lot of cities right now has, and I this is also informed by some of the stuff I hear them say on their All In podcast, which is very popular. It's something that's a reaction to frustration with the lawlessness that we see in some of our cities. And I think some smack talking, I've had enough of this crap, political correctness, somebody who's talking back to the left in as crude a way as Trump does is something that these guys spark to. They may not say it. Now, but again, mostly it's money, it's taxes and power. It's the reduction of the regulations that affect business and the corporate world, and it is tax cuts. There's the invitation. Donald J. Trump.
Did you get one? I didn't.
I did not. I did not. It's funny. That's a lot of money to me. Probably not to many people, but this election is going to come down to a handful of votes in a handful of states. And that money that was raised in San Francisco and in California, Trump then went to Southern California, so he scooped a lot of money out of the state of California. That money will be dumped in media buys and also in the ground game that's necessary. Offices getting out the vote in those handful of states with that handful of voters. So we'll talk more about that because I want to get to how Biden is courting white voters in those swing states. I'll get to that in the second hour. I don't want to get too, but I just, the craziness of that event in San Francisco and the spark around Donald Trump is a remarkable thing, and I wanted to just spend a moment on it. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
What do I have time for, Kim? I need to get to your news. I've got a law and disorder still to come. I also, as I say, I've got more on Biden and the white vote. There's the white voters without degrees. Okay, those are the key swing, juicy, sweet spot for many presidential candidates these days, and these guys are not different. So Biden and Trump are both shooting for that juicy, sweet spot. Give me that white vote, the white voters without degrees. They may determine the election. There are other constituencies that are important. Black Hispanic voters, that's important too. And I will touch on that in the second hour. So we'll get a little bit more into the X's and O's of how this election is likely to go, that in the second hour. But law and disorder involves big busts. It has nothing to do with politics and an armed robbery and sentence. There's a lot to come in the second hour of this show. Smash the like button like a boss if you would. Do it for God and country, people.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Courtney is getting situated in the studio. True Crime Corner with the real story behind Hitman, which is the hit movie on Netflix. Actually, how they made that movie and how that movie came to pass is kind of a good story, too. And we'll see what we have time for. All right, Kim's News and, as I say, then True Crime Corner. Great to have everybody here on this Monday Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Let's start with Hunter Biden because the closing arguments are underway in Hunter Biden's federal firearms trial in Delaware. This comes after the defense rested its case without the president's son taking the stand. The jury will begin deliberating after both sides finish up those arguments. House Republicans are moving ahead with their push to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress. The Republicans are demanding Garland turn over audio tapes of President Biden's interviews with the special counsel who led the investigation into the president's handling of classified material. Now, the Justice Department has handed over transcripts, but has refused to turn over audio tapes.
These guys should be sending Merrick Garland gifts every day for having slow-walked the Jack Smith appointment, the special counsel appointment, and having slow-walked all of the legal efforts to bring Trump to heel for everything done with J6, the document case, everything. It all was slowed because Merrick Garland didn't even begin the process for 18 months to 2 years. It's amazing and what he's realizing now is it doesn't matter how much you want to play it down the middle, pal. They're going to crucify you the way they'll crucify any Democratic appointment. And they're going after him now.
If there was going to be complete transparency, though, why hold back the audio tapes?
Well, the audio tapes were, first of all, complete transparency. I don't know what you mean in relation to the investigation.
There's always this accusation of,
this is in the doc. Sorry, go ahead, please.
There's always this accusation of the DOJ somehow being on the side of the Biden administration. And so if you've already released the transcripts of the tapes, of the documents, of whatever. So why not release everything and say, okay, here's what we got. You have questions? Here it all is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's defensible. I really I think the reason, of course, that they're not is because it's going to be sliced and diced and turned into campaign ads. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think there is also an argument that the president of the United States shouldn't always be subjected to the investigation and recordings of the investigation being released to the public in audio form, meaning there is some cloak of privacy that comes with the executive office. I can see that. But you may be right. I mean, in a sense that, these can be released. I mean, obviously, it speaks to a diminished, so much is spoken of when it comes to Joe Biden and the way he speaks and the manner in which he, constructs thoughts, et cetera. And I think, obviously, this would feed that narrative, right, to actually hear him, hem and haw. But so that's the reason they're not. But I think it's defensible that they should be released. Again, I think also it's defensible that, well, you've got the transcript, and if there's anything substantively in the transcript that you feel is, worth following up on, we'll have a conversation about it. But apart from that, there is a cloak of privacy that should extend to the president.
Okay, let's move on, because we've got this story now about the Biden administration calling for the United Nations Security Council to vote on the latest ceasefire proposal to end the fighting on the Gaza Strip. So we don't know if that's going to happen or not, but Israel has accepted the proposal that would require the release of some hostages held by Hamas in exchange for a 6-week ceasefire. Hamas has yet to respond to this offer. And again, the Biden administration wants the United Nations Security Council to vote on this proposal.
Well, the last time I checked, though, it's Hamas that has the hostages, not the United Nations Security Council. So it's great that the nations of the world are supporting this, but the nations of the world have to pressure Hamas, and Hamas is resistant. They didn't, they have the hostages, and they are non-starters on a peace deal, from what I'm learning.
It's hot, really hot. Forecasters say scorching temperatures impacting much of the West will expand eastward this week. Parts of California, Arizona, and Nevada remain under excessive heat warnings, and states like Colorado and Kansas could see triple digits by Thursday. According to the National Weather Service, the East can expect daytime highs in the 90s from Florida up to New England. So here we are.
Oh, my God.
I know.
Yeah.
Former President Trump, by the way, is expected to announce his running mate next month at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah, this is exciting.
In interviews, Trump said he'd unveil his pick during the convention that kicks off July 15th. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, Senators Marco Rubio, Tim Scott, and J.D. Vance have all reportedly received vetting requests from the Trump campaign.
Wow.
So we'll see how it goes.
MAGA Mickey. I wonder if MAGA Mickey is in the, he's not on the list, huh? The 2024!
I sent Tony video for this next story. We'll see if he comes up with it. But I'll tell you, this is a crazy one. This is about, and I know you hate rodeo stories, but wow. 4 people are recovering.
I saw this, yeah. Go ahead.
Injuries after a bull escaped during a rodeo in Oregon over the weekend. This happened on Saturday at this sold-out 84th Sister Rodeo near Bend, Oregon. Look at that. Video shows the bull jumping over the barrier in the rodeo's arena and then charging onto rodeo grounds. All 4 of those injured were treated and released from the hospital. Crazy, considering that this bull jumped right into the stands, is what it looks like to me. So
it's so wild. I mean, so it's almost as though the bull isn't enjoying the rodeo as much as all the other people who are there. It's supposed to be a big fun thing. I'm surprised that the bull isn't having fun.
It's almost as if he wants out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh. What a surprise.
Crazy. Yeah, but you don't see that very often. Wild. Thanks, Tony.
That ought to be an event, I think.
Take
those fences down. Great. You guys want to have a rodeo? Great. Let's take down the fences and let's see what happens, And because, they're having so much fun, I'm sure you guys will all be safe.
Democrats have become... Oh, I'm sorry. I missed what Courtney said.
What did you say, Courtney?
I said, I hope the next story is not about dairy.
No.
Yeah, don't get me started on dairy.
Democrats have become more liberal in their social views.
We used to go to restaurants. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just to explain, just in 30 seconds or less. We go to restaurants, and we usually order off the vegan menu or the vegan options. Can you make something vegan? Take the dairy out, take the cream out, whatever it might be. We're not obnoxious. I don't think we are. I think we're very low. We're low key.
Yeah.
So, but oftentimes the server will say, "What is the problem with dairy? Why don't you want dairy in your?" And then Courtney
Oh my God.
looks at me and thinks, "Oh, Mark, please don't start on how
I
awful."
mouthed to the server, run. Run.
Dairy may be
Now,
the greatest suffering
it's a
that creatures
10-minute,
can.
yeah,
I'd rather be a cow for meat than dairy. Dairy is especially if you're a mother, you can really hit hard.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Anyway, so good times. Yeah, there it is. It's all there on one plate. Everything, all the horror
All
of
the
dairy.
things you hate the very most.
And I know that there are some KGO listeners who know maybe have found their way here who work on dairy farms and stuff. So please, don't take it personally. But there are no happy cows at a dairy farm.
There's no happy cows in California? No?
There are no happy, well, absolutely not. Unless they have, if not on a farm. But dairy cows are the least
Or
happy.
a rodeo.
Yeah, right.
they really don't like that rodeo.
They really don't like the rodeo.
Just say you're allergic to dairy, is what Calvin says. Yeah, that's usually what I say. I'm allergic to dairy.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. Democrats have become more liberal in their social views over the last 25 years. A Gallup survey found the amount of people identifying as liberal has gone up gradually since 1999, with about a third of Americans each identified now clearly nearly equally likely hold socially conservative, moderate, or liberal views. That didn't make sense, so I'll read it again. The folks identifying as liberal has gone up gradually since 1999, with about a third of Americans each identified are now nearly equally likely to hold socially conservative, moderate, or liberal views. Those social views include LGBTQ rights, the legalization of marijuana, and the Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade. So
Can you summarize what you just said?
Yeah. If you're a friend of the gays, if you don't like that your rights have been taken away and you're a woman, or you like to do the smoking of the pot, then you now have discovered why it's a good thing to identify yourself as liberal. Congratulations.
There you go.
We move forward.
Communist Party.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Wow.
Oh, that was a story. A vegetation fire in Pittsburgh is no longer spreading. Contra Costa crews have it 75% contained at 55 acres. Here comes wildfire season, guys. Flames sparked yesterday at a theater company's warehouse, destroying everything inside, then extending it to a grassy area at the now closed Delta View Golf Course. CAL FIRE joined this one on the ground and in the air to help protect structures. Firefighters have been on the scene all night mopping up hot spots here. Again, this one in Pittsburgh, and it looks like they have it just about wrapped up. But this is not the first one. This is the third or fourth here in the Bay Area, and we just keep seeing temperatures rise, and we're going to keep seeing these fires likely.
Yeah, it's not even the height of the season, or even really that far into the season. Sad.
Speaking of that very same thing, the danger of more grass fires across the Bay Area rising. Tomorrow is expected to be the hottest day. This is why the National Weather Service has issued a heat advisory from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Could end up lasting until Wednesday, though. The areas here in the Bay Area portion of California most affected: East Bay, Santa Clara Valley, and much of the North Bay as well. Forecasters say temperatures will soar into the 90s and even get up to 100. So. In Southern California, there's a kite surfer doing okay after an incident in the Davenport Landing Beach. Actually, this is not. This is in Northern California near Santa Cruz. This kite surfer is doing okay after getting stranded at Davenport Landing using rocks to spell out help in the sand. Some people riding in a private helicopter saw that help message and called authorities. He was safely pulled to a cliffside a short time later. How scary is that? Yeah.
Well, I don't understand. He was hurt, but he was able to put together rocks that said help?
He was stranded at Davenport Landing Beach near Santa Cruz. And because he was stranded, he wrote out in rocks help. And someone from a helicopter above saw it and called authorities, yeah.
So he didn't want to write out the whole thing, help, I'm stranded?
No, there's only a few rocks.
I see. That's it. That's a
in
problem
this
then,
case,
isn't it?
brevity is your friend, right?
Yeah, a good point. Good point.
The owner of a rare gold nugget stolen in Long Beach is now offering $10,000 of reward money for information that helps him get it back. I don't think he's getting it back. Bob Campbell is also hoping for information that leads to the arrest and conviction of the person who stole it from him last Thursday at the Long Beach Coin Expo. At 27 ounces, that gold nugget, priced at $82,000, is unusually large. It was discovered in the Yolo River during the California Gold Rush in 1849. Surveillance footage shows a man opening a display case and putting the nugget in his pocket.
Oh, my God.
So let me just recap. It's worth $82,000 plus its historical significance, and he's offering a $10,000 reward. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, if your whole thing was to inspire someone to give it back,
You don't.
I don't think you're going to inspire someone to return that bad boy.
Hey, brother, check this out. Right. The math on this doesn't quite pencil out. I've got your gold. But we're going to have to work something out.
Joe Fish, Sal the Shoemaker, Joe Box,
Sal
and Little
the
Anthony.
Shoemaker is not going to go for 10,000.
No, I don't think so.
Wow.
I mean, it was a nice try with the reward and everything, but
You can buy a Movado watch in Sam's.
not coming back to you. I think that gold nugget's a goner. Bad Boys Ride or Die, topping the weekend box office. The fourth installment of the Buddy Cop series grossed $56 million in its premiere weekend. The Garfield movie, an animated film about the cartoon cat, came in second with an estimated gross of $10 million.
Jada had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. It's a Will Smith movie. It's Will and who's the other? Martin Lawrence, right? Yeah. Martin Lawrence and Will Smith.
Yeah.
Good for Will.
There you go.
Will's
Coming
back on the horse.
I'm sorry really isn't sufficient.
That's right. It's time to get back up on it, Will.
This report is
understanding the nuances and complexities.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of nuance in the Bad Boys movie, but whatever. I
want to apologize to Chris's family.
Okay, all right. Is there any more, Tony? Or are you going to let Kim speak?
I want to apologize to Chris's mother.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, Kim.
This report is sponsored by the incredibly fine people at Coachella Valley Coffee.
Oh, I've got some right now.
It's a
I had a
place
whole
to get a
pot.
little heaven
I'm
in your
jacked
cup.
out of my mind right now on Coachella coffee. Yeah. Oh my God. It's that stovetop espresso I love so much. Oh.
Find a huge selection of coffees and amazing teas. Really a treat for you. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com is the website. And if you'd like your exclusive 10% discount, you type in Mark T all together at the checkout. That's the checkout code.
Yeah. I'm grinding a different bean. I was doing Ocotillo espresso, but I'm doing the El Gato espresso, which is dark and rich. Oof, I love it.
Kind of like your soul.
Yes.
Yeah.
My dark soul.
I'm Kim McAllister. It's the Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. Feel it in your soul. The Mark Thompson Show.
You cannot say you love your country.
This is Mark Thompson.
Oh, girl, baby girl, don't even play.
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
%100% effective. How about that?
Put that coffee down.
There is no defense for my conduct.
Joe Fish, Sal the Shoemaker, Joe Box, and Little Anthony.
Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy.
Smash it with your iron rod. Smash it with your iron rod.
Seriously, what the?
What up, everybody? We are glad that you found us across the wide YouTube options that you have. There are many options on YouTube. Many, many, many. I know that. That's why we like you to smash it with your iron rod, because that helps keep us as one of the options, which we really are grateful for. As I mentioned, coming up in the next hour, I will talk a little bit about Trump economics. You know, one of the things that is suggested is that everything's so much better with Trump economics, you know, the kind of, it's almost protectionist trade policies where you put tariffs on Chinese goods coming in. We'll talk a little bit about that. And there are any number of things that you would consider representing and reflective of Trump's take on economics generally and on the U.S. economy. So I'll speak to that because there is an illusion around that needs to be exposed. Also, I want to talk about just pure politics and winning the next election. So we'll get into that as Joe Biden and the Democrats focus on that handful of states that will be determinative in this next election. It's a handful of people in a handful of states and certain constituencies that will be key. But right now, we step away from politics, away from Trump, away from the things that divide us, to our united love of true crime. This is True Crime Corner.
Let's pay a visit to Mark's True Crime Corner.
This is not a good neighborhood. I'm scared.
Now, here's your host, Mark Thompson.
For my better half, she's
Hi.
Courtney, everybody. Courtney is the queen of true crime in
this house.
In this house, certainly. But I was going to make the
You're
point.
going to make it bigger. Yeah.
And I hope you can hear Courtney okay. Of course, Tony, you would speak to me about any kind of level inconsistency. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
It's interesting that the hit that is this new Netflix film Hitman is based, and it's about a fake hitman who becomes embroiled, I don't want to give away too much, broiled in something, I'll just say. It's really good. We really enjoyed it. It's, wouldn't you say it's kind of a rom-com-ish kind of...
Yeah. It's inspired by a true story. It's got a bit of noir, and it's a rom-com. And the rom-com component was created by the screenwriters, which is Richard Linklater and then Glenn Powell, who stars in it. And what you're looking at right now actually is Richard Linklater in the background, and then Glenn Powell and his co-star in the forefront of that picture.
Yeah,
but
so that's the director there in
yeah.
the center, Richard Linklater, and the two stars are there in the foreground.
And this story was first published in Texas Monthly in 2001 when Glenn Powell was like 14. And Richard Linklater was actually friends with the author, Skip Hollandsworth. And Skip called Richard Linklater. He was like, there's this incredible story about a hitman that I've been hearing about who's in Houston, who's being hired to off everyone from jilted spouses to frustrated angry coworkers, probably a better descriptor of that. And at the time, Skip says that Richard wasn't sure about the story and kind of sat on it. And then during the pandemic, Glenn Powell called him and said, this is an incredible story and we've got to make it. And so they started to write the film. The film actually wasn't, it didn't have any studio money. So it was shot on spec.
That
but they
I think
believed
is a
so much in the project.
Great little, additional note on this film.
Yeah.
The other thing, additional note, and then you can get into the actual story of the real hitman, the real fake hitman who it's based on. But the other thing that's interesting is Glenn Powell himself. He is a very hot actor. Some would say he's right there behind Tom Cruise now in Hollywood in terms of desirability in a project. But his start was really interesting. He came to Hollywood and was in the home, staying in like the pool house, I think, of a major producer or agent. And so he had a lot of stuff going for him, but he was really young. I think he was a teenager at the time, or he was coming here to be an actor, and 18 or something. And they left town, and he had a party at their house.
I didn't know the story.
And They trashed. Were in the process of trashing the house. The party goers were, but their daughter, the producer or agent, whoever it was, big power broker in Hollywood's daughter, came home. She also lived in the house, and she was outraged on behalf of her parents. And she said, "Get everybody out of here. You get out of here," meaning Glenn Powell.
Yeah.
"You're done, and you're never going to work in this town. We're going to make sure you're through." And he thought, "I really won't work in this town again. I've just angered two of the most powerful people in Hollywood." And so he was bounced out of there. And he admits, it was the stupidest thing. I can't believe I did it, etc. But now his rebirth, and he's hot as an actor, and he co-wrote this very hot project called Hitman.
Yeah, and it's funny you said Tom Cruise, because I know him from Top Gun, the latest Top Gun film. And for me, that was where his breakout role was. But he definitely predates that by quite a bit.
Yeah, no, he was in that. I think they talk about him and Timothée Chalamet.
Timothée.
Oh,
Mark.
Timothée. Sorry. Yeah. Timothée in the same breath. Right. So anyway, back to Hitman. Tell us about.
Okay, so the story is about a man named Gary Johnson. And Gary Johnson was, I don't know how to say this, kind of like an ordinary guy, right? Or somewhat ordinary looking. He was slightly tall. This is Skip Hollandsworth, if you're watching, the man that actually wrote the article, and was approached by investigators in and around Houston saying, "There's a guy named Gary Johnson. You wouldn't know it, but he is moonlighting as a hitman in and around the Houston area." And this started, I think, in 1989. And he was working for the DA. And so, but what
So when you
his
say he was
real
moonlighting
job,
as a hitman, he was moonlighting as a fake hitman.
as a fake hitman.
Okay.
So his real job was he was a professor at a community college. He was a huge fan of meditation, Carl Jung. He was very, very sort of peaceful and kind of cool is how you might describe him. He lived alone with 2 cats in a suburb of Houston. And yeah.
So his persona as a hitman was more than a day's drive from what he actually was.
Exactly. And so he lived alone in this house. He had 2 cats. I think the cats' names were Id and Ethos, but he lived a fairly what you might consider typical life. But he was working for the DA, and he had this incredible ability to transform himself into different personas that people would then hire to off various people in their lives who they felt their life would be better without. He had a little black phone by the side of his bed, like a bat phone, like your burner phone, Mark.
Yeah.
And that phone would ring, and he would get up and he would go off to whatever solicitation he would answer to for the person who was looking to hire a hitman. Now, Mark and I had this question the whole time because it was kind of answered, but not really, on like, how do you get a hold of a hitman, right? What is that first?
It's like hitman.com.
Step in the
right. Yeah.
I think there's a dark web, but this is 1989. So, but it was a lot of informants that would go to the police and mention that someone was looking to hire a hitman. And so Gary Johnson would be sent out, and he would carry through a conversation with that person. And ultimately, that person had to do 2 things. They had to clearly articulate what they wanted Gary Johnson to do in murdering whoever they were hiring him to murder. And they had to hand him some kind of compensation for that. And actually, in the film, they do feature something that happened in real life to Gary Johnson, which is someone offered him a speedboat as down payment for a murder because she doesn't have the cash, but she has this $6,000 speedboat next to her RV. So
this is
figure.
John says they embellished him somewhat in the film.
Yeah.
You wonder how much was real and how much was exaggeration. Well, Courtney's kind of getting into that right now.
Yeah.
So, but some of those specifics, like the speedboat thing, is part of the real. I mean, it really did happen.
They were part of the real. Yeah. And so, if you go down, there's like so he would be sent out, and he would generally meet people in like coffee shops or hotel rooms, motel rooms, and they would carry it out. He'd be wired. I think there's actually a little bit of audio of his voice in one of these pieces. But if you go down, it'll show you kind of like an overview of who Gary was. And so I think it was 70 cases that he had meetings with these people, and there were about 70 arrests. And as I mentioned, it started in 1989. The original article was written in 2001. But he was just like, they quote, the chillest dude imaginable.
So you are seeing all of these different personalities right now, or profiles of the same guy, of Gary.
Yeah, and this is a screen grab from the Netflix film. So you'll see parenthetical at the right bottom. They say, like, we made this up because, any sort of murders attributed to him in the film is all made up.
Yeah, he never murdered anybody.
And it's really, in many ways, and this is true to the article and true to the film, is this look at our personalities, and are we who we want to be, and are we living the life we want to live, and do we have these secret interests or urges? And also it's up against the backdrop of, in the film, he is he teaches psychology. He's a professor in the film and teaches psychology, and so it is an analysis of that as well.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that, because that was a key part of the film, and kind of a fun part of the film, that he's teaching this class, and in front of his students, he's discussing this very thing, that the person that we represent may not be the person that we really are in total. It's just that person or role that we feel is best for that situation, even among friends.
Yeah, exactly.
But in this case, he really takes on these roles that are, far from what he's actually like. And
costumes, accents, yeah, really.
He kind of relishes it,
And in many of these cases, he would come to the scene of wherever he was meeting the suspect, dressed in the way that he thought that they would want him to be dressed. So if it was a woman in an upscale neighborhood hiring him to off her wealthy husband, he would show up in a 3-piece suit with a briefcase. So he really took on those roles and played into that, mostly to match the expectations of the suspect, to really fit into what they had imagined in their mind of what this experience would be. So, but it's a really, I liked the film. I mean, it's fairly true up into a certain point, and Richard later talks about this. But certainly the romantic comedy component is not real. He did, the real fake hitman, Gary Johnson, he did meet a woman who was hiring him to off, I think it was her boyfriend, not her husband. But she was in an abusive relationship. And so he helps her go to social services instead of having her arrested.
Wow.
And
that's real?
Yes.
Oh,
a lot
my
of the
God.
Inspiration for what then the movie, to the point that
takes it to a different place.
Viewer, takes it to a different place.
Wow,
so,
that's really interesting. I didn't know that.
We were really, it was really interesting, because you one of those, you think you know someone.
Yeah.
But this guy certainly was living a second life that was very different from the one that he was living, somewhat externally. And when people asked him what he did, he said he worked in human resources, which I think is very funny. So
and this is interesting. Phineas says, Mark needs to interview a real, not fake hitman. The reality is there are no real hitmen in the sense that we think of hitmen. That was something that was actually touched on in the movie.
Richard Linklater also talks about that. And there's a line in the film about that, which they say retail hitman. So there are hitmen in potentially gangs and mobs and that, but that there would be a retail hitman is kind of outlandish. I was reading somewhere where like a hitman might cost anywhere from $600 to $200,000. I'm like, what do you get for $600?
For $600, you got
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Yeah, you get Joe Box and Little Anthony. You get Mo Black's brother.
Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy.
Yeah.
So that was also an interesting component.
Phineas also suggesting that Vicky in Sausalito would make a great hit woman, apparently. I did not realize that Vicky I always associate with all goodness and niceness. I don't think she's actually going to be a hit woman.
Oh, I don't know Vicky, but does she have 2 cats and live alone?
Well, it may be. She has she has the start of it. Fake, Mark has a burner phone, Beth says?
He does. Mark has a burner phone.
I do not have a burner phone. I wish I had a burner phone. Believe me.
Why does Mark have a burner phone? This piqued my interest the moment you said it. Are you calling secret people? Is that your porn phone? Like, what are you doing?
I wish I had the secret life. I wish I had everything. I don't.
Oh, I know.
I give myself to you kids on this show. I do and do and do for you kids. But no, I do not have a burner phone. But it was really a fun
movie. Yeah, and it's an interesting story, and so we wanted to talk about it today.
Sheila says Sheila's true crime chat.
Oh, hi, Sheila.
She says, "Hi, Courtney. I'm taking a break from the Karen Reed trial to watch you right now."
Thank you.
Oh, that's very cool.
That's very nice.
Yeah,
a lot to unpack there still, but yeah, we liked the film and we thought it was a very interesting story, so wanted to talk about it today. I think it's the number one on Netflix, and certainly Texas Monthly's never seen so much traffic.
That's right. That was the original piece.
They're definitely monetizing on that. So,
gotta love it.
Yeah,
really love it.
And
so
he died. Gary Johnson died. He died in 2022, before the film was released, actually. And Richard Linklater talks about calling Gary and saying, "Yeah, we're gonna make it. The film's gonna make it. It's all about you." And I guess Gary Johnson was just kind of like, "Yeah, cool." So unaffected by Hollywood and what it meant to be featured in a Richard Linklater film. But yeah, and this is a screen grab from the film, so there's a dedication to him at the end of the film. They dedicated it to him at
the end. But again, I love that you mentioned this in setting up the film. They couldn't get the movie made. They couldn't get anybody to finance it. So they financed it themselves, essentially. And it's terrific. They're great performances. I really recommend it.
Yeah.
And really special. And I love that it's fake hitman who is at the center of things. You know what I mean? I think there have been a lot of those. He's a secret agent, but his family doesn't know about it, or he's a hitman, but he's got to keep it from his, wife or whatever it is. This is, perhaps because it is based on a true story, this just has a charm to it that I like. And it also has a kind of quality. I mean, it's, as you say, it's noirish in its own way.
It's definitely layered and well written, and it's surprising, and you can't anticipate what's going to happen. I was listening to these guys reviewing the film, and their biggest issue with the film is that Glenn Powell is so good looking that it's impossible for them to make him look like a nerd.
They did a pretty good job, but then eventually his good lookingness came out. Yeah,
that was the least believable part of this film.
Tom says he got a standing ovation at Sundance. I wasn't aware of that. That's really cool.
That's neat. Yeah.
So. Well, this has been fun, Courtney. Thank you for
having me.
Yeah, really always enjoy your contributions to the show.
Thank you. Not enough to rename True Crime Corner, but
well, I'll tell you why I don't put your name on it, because I can't count on everybody being here all the time. So we have your name featured prominently.
No, this is great.
It's everybody's always got a problem with something. That's True Crime Corner for today.
True Crime Corner, only on the Mark Thompson Show.
Courtney, nice stuff. Very well done.
I can't wait to see that movie.
Yeah, it's really good. I think you'd like it. And somebody suggested that, here it is. Luis suggested it. Mark's burner ID, Tom Danger. Yeah. What was it? Carlos Danger was the name of, what's his name, right, Kim?
I don't know, Carlos Danger.
Yeah, the husband of, what was Hillary Clinton's right hand? It was Umadine. What was her, come on, you know it, don't you?
Anthony Weiner, are you talking about?
Anthony Weiner, that's it. Yeah, his Carlos Danger was his fake.
Was his fake ID?
Yeah, fake ID. Thank you very much. Smash the like button like a boss, if you would. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I need, before I get into the heavy politics, Tony, I need a little maybe law and disorder. Are you good with that? Don't you think? What do you think, Kim?
Yeah, I like it.
Let's do some law and disorder. Then I'll get you into the heavy politics. I'll talk about the various constituencies. I'll talk about Trump economics. I will get to all of that. I've got some good information, and I want to share it with you. But before I get to it, let's do some law and disorder.
In the criminal justice system, the people,
pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care,
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law. You're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
You know, the porch piracy is a real problem. So now they have bait packages on certain porches.
Yeah.
And in Arcadia, Southern California, the bait package was grabbed by a porch pirate, tracked by the Arcadia cops, and then fate intervened.
Busted.
Well, the pirate was in a car crash with the bait package in the car. So officers are tracking this bait package, and all of a sudden they don't see it going anywhere, and they see it there, and they're responding to a huge car accident, and they see that it's the same location that the bait package is pinging, and indeed, the pirate was killed in the car accident involving another vehicle and this porch pirate. It was a bizarre twist to what had been a police operation. Incredible.
It's kind of, I mean, you hate to see someone die, but, I mean, could we say karma? I don't know. If he hadn't been doing that exact thing at that exact moment, he might still be alive.
Well,
I blame you.
Well, I think that's a little harsh, Kim. I don't mean to say, but I don't want to kill somebody just because they stole
I don't want to kill somebody. I'm just saying the universe took
Kim,
care
how are
of
you?
it.
All right. Anyway, a dude who acted as a lookout during the armed robbery of an armored truck sentenced just after we got off the air. So this is news as of late Friday. James Russell Davis, a member of a group law enforcement officials dubbed the Chesapeake Bandits. There he is on screen. This is from the actual heist. He pleaded guilty to a count of interference with commerce by robbery and a count of discharging a firearm in furtherance of a crime of violence. That means he shot that gun, you see. He was a co-conspirator, and there was a gun battle. They got away with $160,000 in cash, then captured by the FBI. He's been in federal custody since March of 2023, and soon after we got off the air on Friday, he was sentenced 14 years in prison.
Good day, sir.
Yeah. Not a good scene for him. Not a good plan to rip off the armored car. Meantime, the Coast Guard seizing $63 million worth of cocaine. And there was a deadly shootout on the high seas.
That's a lot of cocaine.
It is a tremendous amount of cocaine. Kim is correct.
What are they? What's a cool way to say that? That's a chunk of blow.
What? 4,800 pounds of cocaine, to your point. And this is at a Florida port where the cops busted it. It was a dramatic operation led by the U.S. Coast Guard. There you see the Coast Guard with the cocaine. Look how much cocaine is there.
They have to put it on pallets? That's a significant amount of cocaine. I mean, that's a long time in prison, let me tell you.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah, it's the crew opened fire on the suspected smugglers when the vehicle led by the Coast Guard abruptly changed course. The seizure is the result of a joint operation between two agencies, and they started this off the coast of Puerto Cabello, Venezuela. The team engaged a high-speed vessel in the Caribbean thought to be smuggling narcotics. The vessel refused orders to stop. Instead, it increased speed and changed direction. The Dutch and U.S. Coast Guard members opened fire on the boat. They say it was in self-defense. The vessel caught fire and sank. 3 suspected smugglers went overboard. Sadly, or perhaps some would say appropriately, Kim is pretty tough today, they did not and were unable to find the smugglers. They went overboard and they were not recovered.
Again, I would say the universe has a way of taking care of things.
Wow. Very, very tough, Kim. It's tough love, as you know, everybody. Yeah.
Sometimes.
A woman, 102 years old, marries her boyfriend. She went for some young hottie.
How old was he?
102. She's married her boyfriend. How old is he? How old is the boyfriend of the 102-year-old woman who is just married? I will leave it to the chat to take a look and to take a guess, and then I'll have Kim's guess, and then I will tell you. You want to put some of them up there, Tony, or I can share with the boys and girls other guesses. Jason says 100. Calvin says 98. Tom says 100. The answer is 100. Wow, very nice.
Yeah, I accidentally put it on the screen. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations for cheating, everybody. I didn't know that. So you had the actual age up there the whole time?
A split second.
Oh, my God.
No,
Tony,
yeah.
God almighty.
Thanks, Tony.
Can't do anything around here without everything being destroyed.
Why are you yelling?
My own people are undermining me.
Why are you yelling?
God.
Hey, Mark. It's George Santos here.
All right. 102-year-old woman. Do you want to do the rest of the story too, Tony? Maybe you'd like to come in and tell everybody the rest of the story.
Thanks, Tony.
100-year-old boyfriend, and she's been with in this retirement community, Marjorie Fitterman.
That's where you find love. It's better than a grocery store. The old
Oh my
folks'
God,
home.
I'm so about
Yeah.
this.
Look at them. How cute.
Yep. They put their wheelchairs together, and they met 9 years ago. They had their first date that very same day, 9 years ago, and look at them, happy. They have a combined age of 202.
Yeah.
They are the oldest living married couple in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really sweet.
Bernie's granddaughter, Sarah, said that despite being together for nearly a decade, the two only began discussing marriage after Marjorie fell and broke her leg, which shook the couple into action. They wanted to do something. There was a moment, she says, where, quote, I don't want to live without you.
Oh.
And so it was just a, why don't we get married sort of thing, says the granddaughter. It was kind of spur of the moment at first, the granddaughter says. We thought that it was a joke, but then they just continued to go through with it. And took all the necessary steps. Very sweet. So that
I'm surprised it took him a decade at that age. You really can't waste a day, you know?
That is
That's
true.
nice.
Yeah, It is true. You're suggesting they may not have that long?
Yeah, well, I think
Kim
again,
was the one who,
the universe has a way.
I'll remind you last week when we reported on Rupert Murdoch and his fifth wife at age 93, she said he better hurry up because he doesn't have that long.
It's the truth. I'm sorry if you
but
don't
I
want
thought
it
writing that
verbalized,
on the
but-
card was a little bit...
What?
Alex Jones agrees to liquidate his assets to pay Sandy Hook families. This would end his ownership of InfoWars, which is the conspiracy theory-driven platform that he runs, InfoWars. He will liquidate his personal assets, agreeing to demands from the families of Sandy Hook victims, whom he owes more than $1.5 billion in damages to, over his lies about the 2012 school massacre.
Is anyone sad to see his riches go, his ill-gotten riches?
He is a disgusting guy whose lies about, I mean, I can't imagine more painful and more psychologically corrosive news than the sort of news that was devastatingly given to these Sandy Hook families. And out of this massacre, you create a BS story about how it was all faked. It's despicable. It's disgusting. It's grotesque. There is no punishment harsh enough for this man. And the fact that he was able to turn that into a money-making enterprise, plus he was able to convince people that these ridiculous positions, which he must have known were ridiculous, were legitimate, that makes it even more grotesque.
Is he crying over the loss of his money?
He's fake crying over, over the loss of InfoWars.
Yeah.
He had resisted converting his personal bankruptcy into a Chapter 7 liquidation prior to last week. But facing mounting legal pressure, he reversed course and caved because the Sandy Hook families, who haven't seen a penny from Jones since the juries in Connecticut and Texas both found him liable in 2022 for defamation and emotional distress, they kept the pressure on. The legal maneuver ultimately means that Jones's ownership in free speech systems is going to get sold. Converting the case to Chapter 7 will hasten the end of these bankruptcies and facilitate the liquidation of Jones's assets. And hopefully these families will get something. And when I say that, I understand that that's not going to in any way ease their pain. In any way, not even 1%. But closing this guy down, that is something that I think they want to both see, and it sends a message. A key prosecution witness says that he bribed New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez. Jose Uribe. San Francisco Giants baseball fans will remember Jose Uribe as the shortstop for the team in the 80s.
Is this the same? This isn't the same one, though, is it?
No.
No.
I think there are many Jose Uribes. I think it's kind of like Joe Smith as a name in the Latino community. He bribed Senator Bob Menendez as part of a scheme to derail the prosecution of an associate and shield Uribe and his close friends and family from being dragged into a related investigation. You see Uribe there. Mm-hmm. We're 4 weeks into the New Jersey Democrats' corruption trial. Prosecutors are attempting to piece together through Uribe what they have described as a sprawling scheme to trade Menendez's influence for cash, gold bars, and luxury gifts. This is going on in a Manhattan courtroom. This is in the Justice Department that the GOP says is rigged and the Democrats have it rigged. Well, they're prosecuting a Democrat in a Manhattan courtroom, and they will likely bring him down. Menendez turned in his seat in the courtroom to see Uribe enter the courtroom. Then he watched attentively as this businessman, Uribe, who is testifying under a cooperation agreement with the government after pleading guilty in March, told the court that he had committed federal crimes, including bribery of a public official. Again, it was Uribe who was bribing Senator Bob Menendez. Uribe named and identified Menendez as the person he bribed before describing in broad terms the template of his deal with the senator that allegedly involved giving Menendez's wife, Nadine, a Mercedes-Benz C300 convertible.
That's the one you want. You know, if you're going to take bribes for it, you want the convertible.
You just woo. Yeah.
You want that specific Mercedes. Yeah.
Quote, I agreed with Nadine Menendez and other people to provide a car for Nadine in order to get the power and influence of Mr. Menendez. This is from Uribe's testimony. That was in order to help me get a better resolution for one of my associates who is being charged in a criminal matter and to stop and kill investigations that could lead to my daughter and family members. Wow, that is a nice car.
Mm-hmm.
The Menendezes, along with New Jersey businessman Wael Hanna and Fred Davies, are accused of engaging in bribery schemes and acting as foreign agent for the Egyptian government and assisting the government of Qatar. All four have pleaded not guilty. Nadine Menendez is going to be tried separately this summer. It's going to be a great courtroom summer, everybody, for all of us following the Menendez couple. Yeah. So he went into some detail on testimony and the exchange.
I mean, there's no Nissan Leaf in that driveway. No.
No, they're playing it heavy. We have the Nissan Leaf, but we don't have any. We're not influence peddling at all. That's where the real money is.
That's your first mistake. I mean,
you've got to get the influence peddling going.
You can buy a Movado watch in Sam's.
A man is finally arrested in the big Lego heist. Actually, they think it might have been two guys who were involved in this. 3,000 boxes of stolen Lego.
Those Legos are worth a lot resold, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They find all of this Lego at the guy's house. More than 2,800 boxes of stolen Lego sets. And the guy who stole them is 71 years old.
What are you doing?
Exactly. Thank you. I was expecting is 25 or 28 or...
This was the retirement plan that you came up with? Wow.
Officers arrested 71-year-old Richard Siegel and his alleged accomplice, 39-year-old Blanca Gudino. They raid the elderly man's Long Beach home in Southern California. The LAPD moved in. It was their special Lego division.
What?
The individual boxes have a retail value ranging from $20 to well over $1,000. I don't know if you're aware of this, Kim, but you have these Star Wars Legos. They have a huge Lego setup for, you can build like a huge replica of the Titanic, replicas of any number of things, of the White House, of any, so Lego has come a long way, and so some of these Lego sets are really expensive.
Yeah.
So they started investigating the case after this retailer said that this guy robbed them several times, and all this stuff starts walking out the door. Apparently, detectives are saying that these two would sell the stolen goods online, and several buyers would actually go to the dude's house, and that's where they would make the exchange. They booked these two for organized retail theft and grand theft. Again, it was almost 3,000 boxes of stolen Lego. And lastly, in Law and Disorder, say it ain't so. The World Series of Poker has confirmed that it has opened an investigation into marked cards.
What?
No. Cheating.
Yes.
There's cheating?
Cheating in cards? Oh, no. I mean, this is
the world.
Oh, my God.
I know.
This is like a big deal, though. This is supposed to be the professional circuit, right?
Exactly right, Kim. This is supposed to be the professionals.
Oh, girl, baby girl.
Don't even
play.
They have confirmed that they've opened an investigation into marked cards in event number 15 of the 2024 WSOP, or World Series of Poker. It's the $1,500 pot limit Omaha high-low 8 or better. It's 8-handed. It's a tournament. I'll remind everybody and I'll also tell everybody who may not know, I don't know why there would be any reason you would know, but the World Series of Poker is just that. It's a series of different tournaments. We are kind of used to seeing the main event. That's where everybody pays $10,000. It's no limit hold'em, but it's actually made up of many different events. And so this World Series of Poker is rocked by the accusation of marked cards. Complaints were made by players on X, formerly Twitter. And one of those who complained is the current reigning WSOP Online Player of the Year, a guy by the name of Mike Holtz. This is really a huge problem, potentially. It also affects the image, the pristine image of poker. My God. I mean, this is really it's a troubling development. It's unacceptable, says Mike Holtz. On day 9 of the 2024 WSOP, a woman in the 9 seat, which is just the seat right next to the dealer, at Mike Holtz's table, noticed something strange about the way the cards were laid out. Both of those aces are marked, she told the table. The cards laid out were ace-7, and the game was pot limit Omaha high-low, where a player gets 4 cards, and the pot is split between the high hand and the low hand. Thank you, Tony, for posting the original post from Mike Holtz. Very impressive work, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
She took out both decks. She waited for the hand to finish, and then, according to Holtz, the woman went on to prove her point. She took out both decks, he says, and without looking at them, pulled out every ace, deuce, 3, and 4 with 100% accuracy.
Oh, no.
Holtz described the cards as slightly bent in the middle. And the only cards affected were the critical low cards, because you're splitting the pot high and low. So if you know what the low cards are, that's a way to game the system. And only the low cards were bent.
But they don't know if this is done in every game, or if someone just in that particular game was cheating, or if this is like a widespread deal.
So far, the allegations are limited to this game.
Wow.
Yeah. Another player said something similar had happened to him in that same event. So this is a smear on poker. It's not the way poker really should be played, or usually is played. Usually monitored pretty closely, but this is pretty big news. And this is a developing story in Law and Disorder. And that is Law and Disorder for today.
Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
Very excited for Kim's news. And then I want to give you a little bit of a drill down on some politics of the moment, presidential politics, and the coveted swing state vote and constituencies. Plus, before I even get to that, got to derail this BS about the Trump economy, how much better it was. He's already stated a bunch of stuff that he's going to do and things that we know he's done. And these are things that do not help the economy. In fact, inflation, if that's what everybody's concern is, inflation is going to be fed tremendously by some of the things that will likely happen under a Trump administration. I say likely happen that he says he's going to do. And so I said, that's why I say it'll likely happen. So we'll get to that next. Smash the like button like a boss.
Iron rod.
Kim's news, and then we get into some politics. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards. Let's go to Hunter Biden, because the jury could begin deliberations soon in Hunter Biden's federal firearms trial in Delaware. Closing arguments began earlier today after the defense rested its case without the president's son taking the stand. Hunter Biden is accused of illegally buying and possessing a gun while being addicted to drugs in 2018. Speaking of criminal stuff...
Still, I'm amazed that there's, under any conditions, there's a situation where you can't buy a gun in America. I mean, it's outrageous. Really
Isn't
is.
it? Who knew?
Yeah.
Former President Trump is expected to take part in a virtual pre-sentencing interview today in his criminal hush money case in New York. According to the Trump campaign, the interview is being conducted by a probation officer to put together a report that recommends the appropriate punishment for Judge Juan Merchan to impose when the former president is sentenced on July 11th. So Trump meeting with a probation officer to take a look at possible sentencing.
But not actually meeting. It's an online meeting.
It's a Zoom situation.
By the way, you may ask, is that the way it's normally done? No, it's never done by Zoom, but it's being done by Zoom because it is the former president.
You don't want to get in the way of, campaigning when you have to meet with your probation guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, these things happen. Sideshows, social media just lighting up. There's new video of sideshows in the Bay Area. 2 went down in San Francisco early yesterday morning, one near the Ferry Building, the other in the Mission District. Crowds captured a car on fire in front of Pier 1. The dangerous stunt driving took place in Oakland as well, with at least 4 sideshows there, some involving fireworks. No wonder cars are catching on fire. At one point, 2 cars doing donuts crashed into each other. People are going nuts. You know what happens? It gets a little warmer, the weather gets hot, people go a little lulu. That's what's happening.
Yeah, and you know, the way to cut down on these things is what? Bust people and real prison time.
Take away the cars.
I mean, that really
and
is.
Don't give them back.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Impound the cars. That's correct.
Look at that landslide. Holy moly. That's a mountain landslide that has shut down part of the main road into Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and out of, it looks like. The section of State Route 22 that winds through the Teton Mountains between Idaho and the town of Jackson caved in on Saturday. The Wyoming Department of Transportation says no one was injured when this section catastrophically failed, and that road has already been closed after a crack appeared in the highway days earlier. So they were already worried about it, and then, boom, it came down. Yeah, that's going to take a while to fix.
I wonder if Jefferson Graham got home, because wasn't he in Jackson, Wyoming?
Yeah, but when we last spoke to him, he was somewhere near Idaho, so it looks like maybe...
I guess he's moved on then, yeah.
I think so. I don't know. There were, in Los Angeles, dozens of looters that broke into an AutoZone in South Los Angeles. Did you see this? Happened early this morning. They stole thousands of dollars worth of auto parts and related merchandise. It started with a street takeover on Century Boulevard in Hoover. The large crowd then broke into the store and ransacked the shelves. Police arrested at least one person after the incident was over. Investigators hope footage from security cameras will help them identify more of those who were involved in basically pillaging this AutoZone in South Los Angeles.
Jeez.
The personal data of students and teachers for sale on the dark web. That's the word from the Los Angeles Unified School District superintendent. The data was stolen in 2022 during a cyber attack on the district's servers. Now, cybersecurity experts have discovered files are being sold in small lots for $1,000. That's how much your info is worth. The data includes home addresses, homelessness and disability status, and the contact information of relatives. Wild. The world's toughest row is underway. As a matter of fact, that's the Google Doodle today. If you go to google.com, you'll see a rowboat. This is why. 34 teams set sail from Monterey Saturday for a 2,800-mile journey to Hawaii. Family members were there to see them off, some saying it's hard to think of their loved ones in that big open water. The challenge will take about a month to complete. The only all-woman team is hoping to break a record. So, the world's toughest row. Mm-hmm. You're rooting for the ladies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Go get it, girls.
Yeah.
UConn head coach.
Girl, you just moved.
Yeah.
UConn head coach Dan Hurley turning down an offer to become the next head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Multiple reports said Hurley rejected a 6-year contract worth $70 million. He'll stay at Connecticut to chase a third consecutive national title. Hurley would have been one of the NBA's 6th highest paid coaches in the league. Guess he doesn't need the money or the headache. I don't know.
Yeah, nobody wants that Lakers job.
Yeah. Dick Van Dyke, now the oldest daytime Emmy winner in history.
Wow.
Yeah.
How about you, Dick Van Dyke?
Happened on Friday night. The 98-year-old actor and comedian won an award for his guest role on the soap opera Days of Our Lives. So he's now also the oldest daytime Emmy nominee ever. While accepting the award, Van Dyke said, "This tops a lifetime of 80 years in the business." And so he wins, and now he
so
sets
talented.
a record.
Look at there he is.
Mm-hmm.
He looks great. I don't mean to, always be the guy that just, but congratulations, first of all, Dick Van Dyke. And he is immensely talented, and he's informed so many magnificent and magical show business offerings through his life. He's also overcome alcoholism and all the rest. Okay, so now, congratulations. How would you like to have been the other people in that category against Dick Van Dyke? You're finally nominated for a daytime Emmy. You finally have a shot and they say, there's one thing you need to know. Dick Van Dyke is in your category. Dude, seriously?
Actually,
Dick
it's
effing
good.
Dyke?
No,
Van Dyke?
It's good because you don't have, there's not that moment where you are on pins and needles wondering if you're going to win. You already know. Going into it, it's just a fun evening because you're not coming home with the goods, so it's fine.
Not as much fun when you know you're not going to win, Kim. I'm
there's
sorry.
not that element of, oh my gosh, I hope I win. No, don't hope. It's done. Dick Van Dyke's got it. You go and have a good time. Have a glass of champagne, wear a pretty dress, enjoy yourself.
I think that you're bumming that you're finally you get your moment, and it's definitely going to go to Dick Van Dyke. But
of course it is. Yeah.
Kim has a great spin. I mean, maybe. Tom says, I agree, Mark. It should have been a Lifetime Achievement Award. Yeah. Dick Van Dyke looks great. He does. I walked alongside Dick Van Dyke. This is my big Dick Van Dyke story. I walked alongside Dick Van Dyke in the parking lot leaving a Ralph's in Malibu, everybody. So
that's funny.
Really kind of fun. Let me just say.
Sup, Dick? No?
I think I said hi. And that was it. I didn't
Hello, Mr. Van Dyke.
want to be that guy. I probably,
loved you in Mary Poppins. No. This report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore. They've got a big to-do going on for Father's Day, June 16th at Tenuta, and you can order custom labels with pictures of you and your dad, catered food available as well. If you'd like to check out the menu and see exactly what they have going on out there for Father's Day, you can call or you can email Rich, and that is going to be rich at tenutavineyards.com. Tenuta is Tenuta. Tenuta, so it's rich at tenutavineyards.com. And of course, you can also get 10% off. And whether that's tickets to events, whether that's wine labels, whether it's wine, always 10% off. And all you have to do is say, smash it with your iron rod. Yeah, that's right. And you get your 10% off at Tenuta Winery in Livermore. The website is tenutawinery.com. So you can go check out, see what wines you'd like to order. And then email Rich. It's rich at tenutavineyard.com. Say, smash it with your iron rod, and you can talk to him about your discount and what you'd like to order or what questions you have about the events. You can also call them as well, and that is 925-699-4576. You can check in with Rich that way as well. There's a lot of choices when it comes to ordering wine at Tenuta.
Apparently, who knew?
29 varietals. They've got, I believe they've even got more now, 17 reds and 14 whites. Is what it looks like. So there's a lot to look at on the website, tenutawinery.com. Again, the number is 925-699-4576. And their statement, their motto, is give us a half hour and we'll be friends for life. And it's really true. They really mean it. They're the nicest people.
They are great out there.
So go check them out.
Livermore Valley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
We are here on a Monday. Appreciate you being here and part of the support. If you share this show, it costs you nothing. It's a great way to increase our footprint. We have shorts that we release, and you can share them. We release segments and videos. You can release that, or you can release a link to the live show, whatever you want to do. But however you do it, again, it costs you nothing, and it helps us if that stuff's released across your social media. People go, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I'll subscribe. Maybe I'll come visit, whatever. And as we have kind of reached a certain level, it's important that we keep going, in order to grow the show and be able to continue the show. So thank you for all the ways. Those are free ways, that is to say, they cost you nothing, that you can help the show, sharing it. And so thank you for that. Also, interacting with our videos after when you leave comments, I read all the comments. And YouTube values interaction of any sort. So that becomes important as well. And it's all the stuff that I'm learning about YouTube that I never knew. And so thank you for all the ways that you show us love. And of course, hitting the like button, smashing that like button is really a real thing. I want to hear about this anti-dairy reasoning sometime. I take issue, says Wes, $5.
Here it comes.
Shout out. Yeah. Thank you. First of all, Wes, I adore you. But there isn't much to take issue with, I will share the details on another day, but not today. I don't want to, it's kind of brutal stuff. It is illegal, Mark, to release your shorts. Yeah, that is, it does sound weird. I never thought of it that way, but I understand what you're saying.
Put up your pants, my man.
Yeah.
Pull up those pants.
Is that like releasing the Kraken? Release your shorts.
They're short videos is what we. I want to get to a couple of things. Oh, what I didn't mention, but I will mention it now, is we are crowdfunded, and I appreciate, and I guess I'll do it tomorrow because we're just running a little bit late right now. Those who have joined Patreon or PayPal, some new Patreon or PayPal subscribers have jumped on board and been part of the community that supports us, and that really is how we stay here. We meet payroll because you guys help make it happen. So I welcome the new Patreon and PayPal community, but I also really adore and can't thank enough those who were with us early on Patreon and PayPal, and you're the reason we're here now, because if you weren't here all those months, we would not have survived. So thank you, all of you who've jumped on Patreon and PayPal and continued with us, and you can find links to both those under all our videos. Patreon and PayPal links are hot. So 11,780 is not enough subscribers for Mark T, says Angel in the Bay Area. There's $11.78 for memorializing what we thought would be a great milestone, the 11,780, in reflection of the desire of Donald Trump to find me 11,780 votes. But the only way to really keep going was to keep producing. And now we're close to 35,000 subscribers, I think. Big shout out, though, to Wes and to, I'm just seeing Wes with a $5 super sticker. Thank you. That's one of the great ways. And, you can leave super stickers and super chats and different kind of financial shows of appreciation after hours, too. So, all right, enough on that. But thank you, everybody who does support us. I did want to spend a second.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Trump is on the stump, and he is vowing to lower prices. He feels that Americans are sensitive to that. He'll always tell you in the room what you want to hear, and who doesn't want to hear that you'll be lowering prices. But as it turns out, this is a pretty good X-ray of the Trump policies done by the New York Times. Many of his policies will raise prices, not lower prices. He wants to make permanent the entire deficit finance tax cut, as you know. He and congressional Republicans enacted that in 2017. It was really the only piece of legislation that Donald Trump is responsible for, those huge tax cuts. And he also wants to add what he's calling some new big tax cut for individuals and businesses, which would stimulate an economy, but the economy is already at full employment. So it's a weird promise. The idea is somehow I give you a tax cut and you hire more people, you upgrade your factories, this kind of thing. We know that's total BS. That's not what happens with the tax cuts, but that is still the line that is out there. Each of the plans that Donald Trump has, the signature plans, one is the largest domestic deportation in American history. As you know, he wants to, he wants to continue what he started, which is to deport as many people as he can who are in this country, quote, illegally. Many are awaiting some kind of asylum, but many in this country are working in agriculture, they're working in slaughterhouses, they're working in factories, they're working even in retail establishments and back in restaurants, etc. There's an entire gray economy supported by those in this country, as you're aware, who are not here legally. Okay. The largest domestic deportation in American history is what he's promising. It would most likely increase the cost of labor. He also wants to impose a new tariff on nearly all imported goods. That would probably raise the prices of goods. Certainly the imported goods, right? They're going to be subject to tariff. That's going to be passed down to consumers. And also, it's going to raise the price of any domestic-made products that would be competitors to that. He also not only wants to make permanent the tax cut, he wants to add to it, as I noted. Each of those things would likely raise prices. And these price increases would likely have a momentum to them, so there would be an inflationary spiral that would be fed by all of this. The director of economic policy studies at the right-wing leaning American Enterprise Institute, this is not some lefty Democrat, said, quote, I think we can say with a lot of confidence that President Trump's trade policies and immigration policies would result in price spikes. So when you talk about inflation and you worry about inflation, take note of that. I mean, there was inflation globally because of the pandemic, and now it's receded considerably, receded here in this country more than pretty much any other country in the developed world. Getting energy prices down. Trump has not released a detailed economic plan, so it's impossible to evaluate, really.
In 2 weeks. We'll get it in 2 weeks.
Exactly. It's coming. But to the extent that he's...
It's a plan. It's coming. It's coming. It's going to be great. Fantastic.
Any specifics.
Best plan ever.
His primary pitch is to denounce the Biden administration, right? Anything that they're doing at curbing climate change by expanding renewable energy, he is against that. He wants to promote more fossil fuel extraction and make gasoline and electricity cheaper. Of course, he says things like, we're going to get your energy prices down so low, and that's going to knock the hell out of inflation, he says. It's not something that the president can affect in any kind of substantial way, as you're aware. And he's falsely claimed that we've, in the U.S., ended oil exploration and production under Joe Biden. Of course, not only hasn't that happened, but Biden has expanded the oil exploration and oil production to the point that I believe, and you can check this, it has never been as high as it is now. This is even as Biden and his administration expand plans for alternative energies. And there certainly are limits on drilling, but the oil and natural gas production in America is at record highs. Record highs means what? There's never been anything like it, right? Now, under the Biden administration. So if you love fossil fuels, you love your natural gas, now is your time under the Biden administration. Despite all the talk of green energy, Biden is doing a lot for expanding that. So in a detailed breakdown, the reality is that Donald Trump's plans will likely produce any number of economic ripple effects that will raise prices. The tariffs that he actually made a big part of his first administration, that is a tax on consumers. But he's very much about protectionist policies. And, you know, I've made this point before, and I'm not 100% against tariffs. I mean, I think that tariffs can serve, based on everything I've read, they can serve some positive effect. But the reality is that high tariffs, which is something that Trump has talked about, and these protectionist policies, they can destroy an economy, especially an economy like America's, which is linked inextricably to all of these other economies. I mean, the world of economics is just that. It's the whole world now. You can't pursue isolationist policies in a country as developed and as economically powerful and vibrant as America, and yet he is. So that's a word about his economics. Now, a word about a critical part of the voting bloc. And, you know, this may be the blocking and tackling and X's and O's of politics, but it's important. The U.S. elections come down to this.
The Mark Thompson Show.
A crucial demographic for Biden. White voters without college degrees. That's right. Biden is courting white voters without degrees, particularly in the swing state of Wisconsin. There is quite the machine, both from Democrats and Republicans in Wisconsin. These voters have been moving toward Republicans for decades, and they make up the core of Trump's support. He won them by 30 points in 2020. But Biden still seems to be holding on to more of them in Wisconsin than in other swing states, apparently. I'll remind you, though, he's behind Trump by 13 points among white voters without degrees in Wisconsin, so he's got a long way to go. Biden's reelection odds is noted here in the Washington Post, which did some really good reporting on this. Biden's reelection odds increasingly hinge on winning all three of the states in play known as swing states, right? Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
My mom and my father-in-law were walking along outside of a mall in Palo Alto where we had celebrated. This is a few years ago when Trump was running last time. And he said he was going to vote for Trump. And my mom turned to him and said, I thought you went to college. I thought you were educated. The look of shock on his face was crazy. He said, that's really offensive. And she said, well, that's who votes for him. It's the people that aren't educated. I thought that was interesting.
It is interesting. I'll tell you, though, I'm not a if you didn't go to college, you're an idiot guy.
No,
I think there are a lot of people. Yeah, I think that, right, most of us are like, we realize that college is right for some people. It's not right for others. Many people who haven't gone to college have gone on to great things. I have a friend who's a billionaire right now. He didn't go to college. The idea, though, you have of a continuing education in some way is important. I mean, there has to be an intellectual curiosity. There has to be some connection to learning and, advancing, the intellectual expanse that, you include when you're evaluating different things. But more to the point, it represents a shorthand for a way to refer to a block of people, even understanding that, college isn't, the be-all and end-all.
No.
But,
I mean, how many amazing people do we know without college degrees that are totally not Trumpers, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So in Wisconsin, where white voters make up 58% of registered voters, a higher share than any other battleground state, Biden lost those voters by 14 points, even as he won Wisconsin in 2020. In order to win, Democrats are going to have to overperform by a lot with white working-class voters in Wisconsin, because most voters in Wisconsin are white working-class voters. So in this incredibly close race, with a small number of swing voters in 6 battleground states, including Wisconsin, Biden ran incredibly strong with white residents without college degrees in some spots, okay? So he does have some support in some of these places. In Wisconsin, I'm talking about. There is a patchwork, they say, of small towns and dairy farms. There you go. South of Madison, Wisconsin, where nearly 3/4 of the residents are white and lack college degrees. And Biden's strength with the state's white voters without degrees is, in a sense, they feel and note, and those who research and watch such things, a part of the rural tradition of Democratic support. Now, that may be changing, but there still is that support for Democrats. It's faded, but it hasn't disappeared.
Even here in the North Bay, where we have a lot of dairy farms and cattle farms and chicken ranches, it's common, if you're a rancher, to be more conservative.
Sure. But what's happening in Wisconsin is that while that's becoming more common, there are still a lot who recognize in Joe Biden and the Democrats a history of supporting those issues that they care about. So the organization in Wisconsin is the key part of this. That is to say, the Democrats are very well organized there to try to nurture the seeds of that support that have become more sparse, but are still there. But Republicans are really confident. They opened up a field office in Waukesha, Wisconsin last month, and there's a tremendous spend. And as I was mentioning to you before, because of the San Francisco fundraiser that was held at the home of David Sachs, a lot of that money is going to the swing states and to Wisconsin. So
I was reading a piece about dairy farmers in one state, and they rely on labor from immigrants because the cost of doing business has skyrocketed. So they count on people, and they can't find other people to do the work. And one of the reasons that a couple of longtime conservative farmers that were interviewed, I think it was on 60 Minutes, said that they were switching to President Biden is because they didn't like Trump's immigration policy, that it was too strict, and it would mean that they didn't have enough workers to get their stuff done on their farm.
There's no question but that those who are in the gray area, to be kind, about how they're here in the U.S. and their legal status, there's no question that they underpin the labor force in agriculture. There's no question about it. I would say agriculture, restaurants, in other parts of the service industry. So if you want to get rid of all those people, everything's going to get way more expensive, and it's going to ripple through the economy in a lot of other ways too. So I'm looking at the comments now. I'll get to this comment in a second. I'll respond to it. I very much agree. I mean, so in a way, it's like you're going to take away my labor force. You're going to start sending ICE agents around to bust everybody at my farm. I mean, that's going to be a tough day. So those farmers may want to find God on that issue. But right now, that is the plan. So with no plan for backup. So that's a little bit of a snapshot of what's going on in some of those states. Tomorrow, I want to talk a little bit about this idea somehow that Biden is not together anymore. He's not fit. Because why? Because he walks more slowly, or he doesn't come up with a quip or a humorous story that's succinct. And the media is so biased toward somebody who's hot copy like Donald Trump. But the reality is Donald Trump is he's all over the road. By the way, I'll leave you with this. Tony, do you have that Trump thing from the rally? Here's Trump just going, I don't know where he is on this thing. You'll see how he's just spinning and spinning and spinning. This is every bit the kind of digression, long story, weird, where are we, losing yourself in the woods kind of situation that if Biden had done, they would have, been trying to get him into a home. Go ahead, play it, Tony, please.
And much because of MIT, my relationship to MIT, very smart. He goes, I say, what would happen if the boat sank from its weight and you're in the boat and you have this tremendously powerful battery and the battery's now underwater and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there. By the way, a lot of shark attacks lately. Do you notice that? A lot of shark. I watched some guys justifying it today. Well, they weren't really that angry. They bit off the young lady's leg because of the fact that they were not hungry, but they misunderstood who she was. These people are crazy. He said there's no problem with sharks. They just didn't really understand a young woman swimming now really got decimated, and other people too, a lot of shark attacks. So I said, so there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards, or here. Do I get electrocuted if the boat is sinking, water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking? Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted? Or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? Because I will tell you, he didn't know the answer. He said, nobody's ever asked me that question. I said, I think it's a good question. I think there's a lot of electric current coming through that water. But you know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time. I'm not getting near the shark. So we're going to end that. We're going to end it for boats. We're going to end it for Trump.
Thank you.
What even was that? What happened with his mouth and his brain?
He was talking originally, I believe, about batteries and, batteries powering boats. I mean, he was doing his own riff, But the idea somehow, first of all, there was that Wall Street Journal piece, which was a hit piece on Biden. They only quoted these highly partisan Republicans to support this kind of Biden is slipping narrative that they were pursuing. Yeah. There were a bunch of other, even the people they quoted, they cherry-picked them because they actually had kinder things to say about Biden and his mental acuity. But I make these points simply because there is a narrative that the media is running with, and it speaks to the inability of Biden to kind of, find the men's room, and it's just BS. It's absolutely BS. I mean, has the guy lost a step since, in the last decade? Of course, the way we all have. But, look at the alternative. This guy is completely out of it. I mean, well, he and I think nuts is the right way to put it. I mean, you've got in. I'm not hiring the guy for president because of the way he walks, because the way he speaks necessarily. I mean, I'm not hiring him to be on Jeopardy. I'm hiring him to be president of the United States, and you have to have the intellectual curiosity. You have to be able to evaluate risks. You have to be able to do a number of things as president that will bring you up to speed on complex issues worldwide. In Donald Trump, you have someone who is willfully ignorant, no effort to expand any kind of knowledge, only cares about himself, would rather golf than govern. And as we know, he has no ability to get through written material and no ability to admit that he doesn't get through written material so that he could be briefed orally. It's a fraud. And it's for that reason that I think all this stuff about Biden is just a non-starter. Anyway, more on that in the days ahead.
That's just horribly concerning. It was like to say it was an ADD crazy going off the rails, that would be doing the disservice to anyone with ADD. What was that? I mean, he sounds like absolute raving lunatic.
Well, and this is a guy who doesn't really value national secrets the way he should. He jacked a bunch of them to his personal residence. He waved around a lot of them. He shows them off like a kid who just got the answers to an exam before the actual exam started. I mean, he's a real problematic figure. I don't think he should be allowed back into the White House on a tour. But sadly, he leads Joe Biden because of these fake narratives, many of which the media helps amplify. They love the horse race. They do love the verbal stuff. Biden doesn't give them a lot of what they want.
Fodder, yeah.
Fodder, exactly. Anyway, that's a little bit of a breakdown on some political stuff. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
Later in the week, I'm going to speak to Ari Berman, who wrote a book about just this thing, Doug. Doug writes, "The Electoral College is necessary. It's in the Constitution. Small states deserve equal representation." Well, small states are not getting equal representation. They're getting outsized representation. And the Electoral College is one of the great problems with America. You must know that. But if I need to remind you, Ari Berman has written a whole book about it, and he breaks it down for us on Wednesday. He's a brilliant, brilliant author and journalist, and I'm looking forward to having him in. He's on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, Wednesday at 12:05.
VG George says, "Does Kim ever get a break from listening to Mark's BS?" Not only do I not want a yellow card VG George, I want to bring VG George into our meetings. I love it. I love the abuse. Listening to Mark's BS. How dare you? Equal representation. One person, one vote, says Trevor. Yeah. All right. I could stay here and listen to your abuse, VG George, all day, but I have other places to go where I can be abused. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
Trump and the Shark sounds like Herschel Walker. Did you know a vampire can kill a werewolf?
Exactly.
I love that. Yeah.
A werewolf can kill a vampire. Did you know that?
I just didn't. I knew it, but I need to be reminded of it.
A werewolf can kill a vampire. Did you know that?
That's really cool. Yeah, thank you. Herschel Walker is so. What happened to him? Wow. Yeah. Running for office is hard, isn't it? It's a lot harder than it looks. Yeah. Just like doing this show is harder than it looks, VG George.
Why are you yelling?
Here it comes.
Kim is all Kim, all the time, wall to wall at the After Party Live.
We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
And she's over there at the After Party Live channel. Tomorrow, the great Pulitzer Prize winner and Dean of Trumpologists, David K. Johnston, joins us. We will look forward to seeing you then.
I'm Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Soon Trump will be singing Baby Shark.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for being here, everybody. Till tomorrow. Bye-bye.